Motherfucking mini episode. Mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode.
Num, num, num. Give me a bite of that. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another phenomenal episode of My Mama Told Me.
The podcast where we dive deep into the pockets of black conspiracy theories.
And we finally work to prove the theories that you, the listener, have at home. That's right, motherfucker. It's a mini episode.
Yeah. I am your man from the Congo.
David Bori from the Congo is here. And I, your American man, Langston Kerman, we're both here. And we have... we got an email that I think immediately didn't sit right with either of us.
Yeah, this is important to get off our chests.
We didn't care for this email one bit. It was an email from a person named M, nameless motherfucker named M, who sent us an email that already the headline, the subject line of this is fucking offensive as shit. They said, "Too Hotep for you?" ?
Which is, don't call us out like that.
Yeah, I don't like that. What the fuck?
Like, bro, don't be like that. You come into my house?
Yeah.
You emailed me.
We didn't reach out to be like, hey, do you have any theories? Please send it to us.
Yeah. We were like, hey, world-renowned conspiracy theorist M, put us on.
Yeah, this feels like an attack before we even get centered in our shit.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
So then they try to soften the blow a little bit. They say, love the show, period.
Sure.
No exclamation point, no emphasis anywhere, just love the show. Love what you boys are doing over there. But they go on to say, would you ever do a deep dive, like a multi-part series on Bobby Hemet and his whole Melanin magic conspiracy stuff? Might be too Hotep in earnest for a comedy podcast, or maybe you're scared of the truth. Anyway, I appreciate your work, M.
I can't tell where M is coming from either.
Yeah.
Like, do you believe in Melanin magic, M?
Right, like is M being like, hey, if y'all really want to be on some shit, you need to be exploring like Bobby Hemet and what he got going on.
Yeah, I know you guys like to play around talking about racist turtles and shit.
Hey, I know you guys enjoy your little sandbox over there, but if you ever want to see what real sand looks like, come over here to Bobby Hemet Town.
I think we just got red-pilled.
Yeah, I didn't like that one bit.
No.
And in fact, you know what's fucked up is it worked pretty effectively on me because I got so furious at this email. I got so angry at the accusation that something would be too Hotep for me that I have now been doing exactly what M is asking for, a major deep dive on Bobby Hemet and his works. For those that are unfamiliar with Bobby Hemet, the best way to explain who he is to say he is a motherfucker who is sort of like become the godfather of Hotep shit. He kind of is like a elder source of what Hoteps look to for insights and groundbreaking theory. He is almost the quintessential example of what Hoteps should be aspiring to if they are doing this shit correctly, I think is a fair way of describing him. He also is just a fat little stout man with a lisp. So it's they're both of those things can be true.
Yeah, two things can be true.
Yeah. So Bobby Hemet, he has a number of very popular videos online, and a number of them are not popular at all. And I've taken
that's the mark
time...
of a good YouTuber, because the truth doesn't care about popularity.
Yeah, it's just whatever you can get people looking at, you can get people looking at. And in this case, I've been watching now a 10-hour, and I'm not saying that incorrectly.
You have kids.
I know. And she is suffering because of this, but I'm halfway through currently a 10-hour series of speeches that Bobby Hemet has been delivering across the nation, making people aware of exactly what M is referring to, this sort of like black magical theory and a lot of other arguments that he's been making. And so with that, what I thought would be a fun thing for us to take on is a brand new game. This will be an ongoing game, just as M has shamed us into, an ongoing game called Hotepery with Hemet. Hotepery with Hemet.
Love it.
And
Love
and
it.
we'll just unpack we'll just unpack some shit that Bobby Hemmit says. I'll throw some ideas your way. And I just love to hear where you land in all of this, and we'll debate it. We'll see what.
Let me know.
Hell yeah. I think one of my personal favorites that maybe is a great place to start off, and he has so many things that he has come up with, but one of the things that he argues that I thought was extremely interesting was that a number of the places and things that we associate with white culture are not in fact white. In fact, he claims that black people invented Greek mythology, that we were also the original people of Ireland and France and a number of other very, very white places, that we are sort of like a source that continues to be pushed out.
Why do these dudes hate Africa so much?
Well, he does address, I want to be clear, he does address some things with Africa that we can get into in a bit. But I'm curious to hear specifically what you think about the Ireland and the Greece and all of that.
It always feels to me like this it feels similar to the black Hebrew Israelite thing, where it's like, okay, if you grew up in the West, you grew up with a very Eurocentric view of history.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like, as opposed to trying to learn what African history is, you've internalized that is the greatest of all civilizations. So you want to tap into that and have a part in that, as opposed to understanding that maybe you came from a place with a rich, giant history. You know what I mean? It feels like piggybacking onto something that you don't need. You know what I mean? That you don't need.
Yeah, that you should have your own history, that this should be meaningless to you. Or
yeah, who cares? Who gives a fuck about who were the first people in Ireland?
Yeah.
Like,
I will say,
Greece.
I will say that what's really fascinating about Bobby Hemmit is his ability to sort of address what you're talking about inside of this conversation, that he isn't like completely ignorant to what it means to suggest that black people founded Ireland, right? And so he does go on to say, like, for example, he makes the argument multiple times that Israel, as we understand it, was not the home of the original Hebrews, right? That like this isn't a thing where we black people started in Israel, as much as they changed what quote unquote Israel was from a place in Africa, like deep in Africa, and then moved it up to where it became for the sake of being able to make it more of a gray area about ownership.
What does he think it was, Ethiopia?
I can't remember specifically where he thinks it is, but it's somewhere obviously much further down in Africa, and that this is more the propaganda of Europeans just trying to prove that the original people could have been white rather than them being connected to an actual source. Why is he cutting out
the Arab people, though?
Well, that tends to be, I think, one of the biggest flaws of a lot of the arguments, right? Is that
they've been here the whole time, and they've always claimed that is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what he would, he's not really addressing other races as often as you would like. He does say, and this is another very fascinating argument that he makes. He does say that white people are a counterfeit race, right?
Go
that
on.
Like they literally they are not. And I am merely paraphrasing here. I do not want people to think that I am necessarily advocating for this. But
I'm not advocating.
He doesn't believe that white people have souls, that like literally there are souls inside of their bodies. He believes they possess spirits, which is how they're able to move their bodies from left to right, A to B, whatever it is. But the actual soul is missing because black people invented white people on some weird experimentation shit. And then it sort of got unleashed on the world at a before we were ready, before like the pot finished cooking, as it
Why
were.
were we making experimental people?
I think to the point that he makes, and this kind of is where it becomes a complicated argument with what you've been
This is
talking
where it
about.
becomes a complicated argument.
Buddy, I'm 5 hours deep. All of it's complicated for me.
This is amazing.
I'm 5 hours deep, and sometimes I'd be like, this nigga's spitting, but
That's a problem because you've taken so much of it in.
I'm getting too close to it. You know what I mean?
You have the foundation built.
Yeah, I what he would argue is that our understanding of the world is so European centric and so sort of like fabricated by white people that we are only able to see how long humanity has lasted based off of white history and white science. And the reality that he would argue is that humanity is hundreds of thousands of years old, and that we were the original black people, or black people were the originals, and that our technologies were so far advanced from even where we are right now that we had the ability to start making like black or white people, whatever it was. And so it's like that, where it's just our experimentation, our wildness got the best of us, hence white people come to be.
So ultimately, white people were like our greatest folly. Like
it was like somebody fucking
we invented
around.
our own demise.
Well, so that's also an interesting argument that he makes, because he doesn't give white people any credit in having been our destruction.
Of course not. They have no souls.
He doesn't believe that a thing
according
with no
to Bobby.
Soul, yeah. He doesn't think that white people are as much our demise as he does believe that black people gave up our position, because he doesn't believe we're actually humans either. I should note that. He believes that we are gods, or at least we started as gods and had lived as sort of like these deities on earth for a long time. And he said that in order to elevate to the next level of evolution beyond the gods that we were, we had to create change. And when you are a god, the only way to create change is to fall from the grace that you currently stand on for the sake of evolution, right? That's so like, in essence, we gave up our power so that when we re-establish power, we become the greater gods that even than we were originally.
This is like a Black Joseph Smith. This is amazing. Here's my question to that is like this idea that we were deities. How many were there then? Because there's a lot of black people. And it seems like if we were all deities, wouldn't it be tough to get everybody on the same page, especially in regards to the idea of giving up our godhood? Like, you don't think there was a group of them who were like, nah, man, I ain't fucking doing that?
Right. It does, to get everybody on the same page to agree that like, hey, we have to change our situation as gods. God ain't good enough.
And how many were there? Like, if there were 25 million, that makes me feel like, I don't know, that's a lot of God. Like, what's the difference between gods, according to Mr. Hemet? What is the difference between...
Very honorable. I love that.
I give it to him. God, what was the difference between us in our godly form versus us in our form now?
I that part I'm not 100% clear on.
What did we give up? Because he says we gave it up. So what was it like? We used to be taller and more attractive or something like that?
I think it's literally we used to live on a more celestial plane and gave up that world
to come to Earth.
I don't know that it's as much like a fall to earth in the way that we associate heaven, but that it's almost like interdimensional type shit where we didn't exist on this planet in this plane, and then suddenly we sacrifice this other world for the sake of being a part of the one we're on.
So what you're telling me is Bobby Hemmit invented the multiverse.
I think Bobby Hemmit
give that man his paper.
I think he certainly could make the same argument that Terminator lady is making. That look, man, if you read enough of my literature, I've been saying Ant-Man and the Wasp. I've been saying some stuff about that.
So he thinks that we originally populated Ireland and where else?
It's Ireland. I think France is another one that he says. Oh, Russia, France, Ireland, Bosnia. He says, oh, this is fun. He says,
Also, what about Asian people and Hispanic people?
well, he, again, doesn't address them very often. He does say, and this was wild. I'll start with the less wild version of it. He said, in terms of the Ireland of it all, that the reason there are no black people there is because they were essentially like murdered and ran out. But he says even the St. Patrick allegory, right, of this man who has the whistle and can lead the snakes out of the Ireland, it's actually a reference to the quote unquote snake people, the black people of Ireland. And that the river dance is a black dance. That's not
a crazy pull. Feels like they're doing a lot of heel toe type shit.
Yeah, he said if you go to West Africa, there's plenty of tribes that are like up there dancing with their legs and not their upper bodies.
What tribes?
Look, man, the brother said it. I don't. He does use a lot of references, and it's very hard to keep up. Like, he refers to so many books that at times I wonder if those are even real books or if he just has like 100 titles in his head that he's like circulating. And I'm like, the man said this in a book, so I don't know. I can't verify this. Additionally, this is where it gets really crazy. He in relation to specifically Russia being a black home originally, he says that Stalin did not in fact kill 20 million people as is suggested.
Oh no, he did not.
By our media, he says
there was no Russian Revolution.
No, he says Stalin didn't do that. He says the real murders were actually instead the ethnic cleansing of the black people in Russia, and that the Stalin story is more of a red herring to distract us from the literal like ethnic cleansing of the Russian nation.
Who I don't. Yo. It also bothers me. See, this is what bothers me about this kind of shit all the time. This happens so much. I feel like with this fucking Hotep shit is like you're still providing a Eurocentric view of the world by not acknowledging all of Asia, all of South America, all of North America. Like, you are also not acknowledging humanity in the rest of the world except for Europe. Therefore, your view of this whole shit is Eurocentric. You're not giving me a full view of world history. You're giving me a Eurocentric view of world history, which is the same shit that they did. That's like I find that very irritating.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, they make it a two-man game, and truly this shit is way more complicated.
Exactly, you're doing the same fucking thing.
At bare minimum, it's 5-on-5, and y'all keep trying to make this a 1-on-1 game, and I'm
saying you're totally blocking out all. You know how many people are in Asia that you're just like, oh.
Yeah. No, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, there was some part of it where he sort of goes like, yeah, black people, we invented Chinese people too. But it really was more of a throwaway than like.
By the way, people who have a history that documents pretty far back.
Right, and that does.
Far documented.
That feels like part of the cheat sheet, right? And being able to say that like humans, black people were the origin and humans have been around for hundreds of thousands of years is because it gets to a point where it becomes unverifiable for anybody. And therefore he's just sort of able to say, well, this happened and this happened.
Yeah, you can exist on, you're an authority in the gray area. It's like, okay.
Yeah, like there's no way for us to actually verify the celestial plane. So it's like,
I don't know.
I just have to believe you about this shit. That seems like a big step, big dog.
And I get it. You say a lot of things that we would like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds nice that we were all gods and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love hearing white people don't have souls. Don't get me wrong.
They're like cats.
But I also need some verification if there was any way to even.
I need you to acknowledge other people. Who are the Native Americans then? Who are these people?
He doesn't really address that. He does.
Of course not.
Let's do this last piece because this does actually address the real question that M showed up with. But M asks about the magic of it all, the melanin-based magic, and he does in fact argue that melanin itself is a form of almost science magic. Like it has both the power of like scientific shit, but also purely like effective magic. And so much so that he argues that melanin is the cure for AIDS, cancer, and diabetes.
Have you heard of West Africa?
Well, he hear me out. What he says is that white people are giving it to black people directly, like they are injecting essentially these diseases into our systems as a way of weakening our magic. That like we potentially
Then why do they get it too?
Hoof. I think he would argue that that it is theirs and they're giving it to us, not that
But
not the other way
I know white
around.
people who have died of cancer.
But that's what he's saying. He's saying they're meant to die from it because they're soulless and weak. But we, the melanated, would not die from it were it not for white science and intervention.
Listen, Hemet, I wanted to be with you, bro. That soul thing, pretty funny. I like it. I mean, maybe I gotta go and do my Googles.
I think you might want to do some Googling.
I definitely feel like your shit falls apart with a few. Because, by the way, I am no researcher. I am not educated. I have a semester of college. If I can just sit here and listen to what you said and kind of pick it apart, I don't know, man. And you have to acknowledge what all these other people have been doing this whole time.
Yeah, I think what he would argue, and this is maybe the essence of everything I've been learning, is he would hear you say that, and then he would call you a coon. And the entire audience of people who are all very excited to hear him say some of the wildest shit I've ever heard a human say.
Everybody who's agree with in the back of this tire shop.
Yeah, they would all yell, "Yeah, you're a dirty coon monkey," and then they'd kick you out of the room. And then there's literally one point in the thing where he's like, "I don't want to save niggas. Niggas are stupid. They're dumb. I'm here for y'all, you, the elevated, the enlightened. I don't give a fuck about like union and like community." He said, "Niggas are going to die. Y'all are the future." And it's like, oh, I see what you on, bro.
There you go. Ultra elitist. I mean, listen, if I was him, I would have created some like kind of like, I'd have done some type of Pangea shit. Where it was like we were ultimately together, and then like you have to acknowledge.
I think he is saying that.
Okay, it was all Pangea.
I don't think, but it's tough, right? Because I don't necessarily know that I believe he believes in Pangea, but I do think he believes in a very different version of Earth than what is currently mapped
today.
Yeah, I don't think that he would say like what white people understand of like the shifting of continents is correct. He doesn't believe in evolution. He certainly doesn't believe we came from monkeys, but he does believe very much that whatever we now understand to be white nations were in fact not white nations.
Okay.
Yeah. This has been.
Listen, I'm willing to wait a couple weeks and do another segment and hear out what he has to say.
I promise there'll be more stuff. I have literally pages of notes that I've been taking, and I highlight the ones I'm going to teach to my child. So it's
because ultimately
there'll be way more.
I don't want to be a coon, so let's hear out Mr. Hemet.
You got to listen out if you don't want to be a coon. So
I got it. I get it.
To you, our dear listeners, if you don't want to be a coon, tune into another episode of Hotepery with Hemet here on My Mama Told Me. You'll learn something and you'll be shocked by some of the insane things he believes. And yeah, that's a mini episode. This is this is a mini. Bori, you want to tell the people where they can find you? What cool shit you have to be on?
Cool Guy Jokes 87 on Instagram. Tomorrow night you can go to High Note Comedy Denver at the Skylark Lounge and watch Brittany Carney headline. It's going to be a great time. The rest of the stuff's going to be on my Instagram. You'll find it, I believe.
Hell yeah. Find the Instagram. Go see
Find it.
Brittany Carney.
Fine.
And as always, you can follow me at Langston Kerman on all platforms. I'm ready and available. I'll pop whatever I got popping in front of you. Fuck it. And then if you want to send us your own conspiracy theories, if you want to advocate for Bobby Hemet, please send all of that to mymommapod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. That's it. That's all. Bye, bitch.
Would you say that you're racist?
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
Look at my dog. He's as black as can be.
Motherfucking mini episode. Mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode. Mini episode. Motherfucking mini episode.